What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Man-Made Thoughts. And I know y'all are probably sitting back and thinking, man, this is a long time. The trade paperback's already come out and it's already got issue 2 in there. Yeah, well, I got caught up in some things and some stuff came up. But anyway, this is Spider-Man Life Story number 2, also known as the 70s. Okay, so the overview with Spider-Man Life Story, if you didn't know, or if you're just getting into comics, is that Spider-Man Life Story is basically the story of Peter Parker if he was going to age throughout the decades instead of staying a 20-something forever. And these are actually really good. The decades that they actually cover usually cover the real world stuff that was going on. Yeah, but it's more like what the old Peter Parker Spider-Man comics used to be, where it was it was more Peter Parker's story than it was a Spider-Man story. And I had every other issue except for this one, and then my comic book shop actually got this one in because this one was just flying off the shelves. And then I had to keep going to the field. I had a lot of other stuff going on. And then I was also lazy. I got a couple video games that I wanted to play. But anyway, let's get into this one. By the way, it's a high recommend. Very, very good. Very good. Okay, so when we open this one up, we start off with Gwen and Peter. They are at Flash's Tombstone because he died. If you remember issue number 1 or the last video, he went off to join the war in Vietnam because of the fact that Captain America was there, and he was like, well, Spider-Man is my favorite hero, so it just seems like something he would do. He would go and help people, so why would it not? But, he ends up dying over there, obviously, because he was killed off scene. And, this one just goes into how you can never have 2 smart guys in a room. All this stuff, like Peter Parker, he gets into it with every smart guy in this book. And like, if you are a smart guy, you're probably Peter Parker's nemesis. Like this one, this is Reed Richards. They're basically talking about whether it's right for superheroes to interfere in regular people affairs, like, wars, that sort of thing. It's actually a pretty good debate to have. Considering that all the superheroes sat out of the OIF Warframe. You might have seen Captain America throwing like a football at the PX comics and stuff, but they all sat out of it. But every single hero was in World War II. So, I guess you can make a case that if it's a white guy that you're fighting, it's not really a bad thing. But if it's a brown guy or a black guy, then it's gonna offend somebody. So so I guess that's why they sat out a whole decade and a half's worth of fighting. Anyway, so they're arguing about that, and Peter gets mad, wants to know if he should do more. Eventually, Harry he goes to reconnect with his dad because, as you know, as issue 1, Norman was actually arrested. Because he was like, I'm just crazy. That's all. I'm not the bad guy here. Spider-Man's the bad guy. If he hadn't interfered, then I wouldn't have gone crazy. So, Harry goes to go visit him in prison, and they're talking about, hey, I got this protocol for you, but I want to see if you'll actually do it because, Norman Osborn, he manipulates Harry a lot. And we can just tell, if you didn't have a good reason to know this, the art is solid. Mark Bagley is literally at the top of his game with this, I guess because he had more time to do this. When he was doing Ultimate Spider-Man, sometimes his pencils were a lot looser and stuff, but he's at the top of his game in this one. You don't have to figure it out. The art is amazing. So anyway, we've got Dr. Miles Warren in here. You might know him from the Clone Saga. The reason why the clones are running around in real world Spider-Man stuff, not the 90s Clone Saga, but if you want to go with the 90s one, which was horrible, and that's the reason why I stopped reading comics in the first place. So Miles Warren was the one that started cloning them, and then the other Spider-Man started running around and stuff, and Peter burned them, or so he thought, because then it led into the 90s Clone Saga. But anyway, we get subtle hints through the art because Mark Bagley is a very, very, very good sequential storyteller with his art. A lot of times, I used to read that when Brian Michael Bendis was doing Ultimate Spider-Man, he'd have pages of dialogue and stuff, but Mark Bagley would just be so good at like squashing all the dialogue down to like a facial expression. And here we have Miles Warren. You can look and see that there's some tension, especially with this placement of him back there. In the foreground, we have Peter and Gwen because they've just recently gotten married, and he has him in the background in this face. You could tell there's something more going on here, and props to Chip Zdarsky because he's a very good writer, very talented. And also, this iteration of the Spider-Man suit, like I said, they always change every single issue. You've probably already seen every video that I had for Life Story anyway, so you see how it progresses. But, you know, these suits, they just cover his more vulnerable areas. At this point in his life, he'd be in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, so his knees and ankles are going to start feeling the impact of his falls and his jumps. So his wrists, he's got to reinforce it with the strength he has. So is his shoulders, you know, where he can actually lift and pull more. So it's subtle nods to like those things. And, you know, this is where we get back into him being Peter Parker. He's got to go to a disco. And let me tell you, Mary Jane, yeah, she's stacked. This is, even in her own book, she looks good. But let me tell you, this is why they are attracted. Like, they will always come back to each other. Some people call it lazy writing, but Mary Jane is perfect for Peter Parker. Like, she's always going to be interwoven in his stories. No matter if there's some other woman, he's always going to come back to Mary Jane. But this is her basically telling him that, yeah, I know that you were Peter Parker. I've been seeing you come in and out of the window. We were neighbors when we were kids, which, yeah, she was technically kind of there, but until like they actually introduced her, because her head and face would always be blocked by some kind of item. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, you know, Harry, he's a lush. He's a drug addict and all that stuff. And he's jealous of Peter Parker. Anyway, his dad tells him to do some stuff. He becomes Green Goblin. And surprise, look, oh, he's making the moves on Gwen, because that was his whole plan all along. Let's skip some pages because I really don't want to ruin this. But I really love this last page, because I don't want to ruin this for y'all, but it came out like last year, so. But anyway, you know, this is just it's supposed to be a highly dramatic scene. And it was when I first read it. And then I forgot about it. And I had to come read it again so I can get it again, so I can review it. But I'll just read this out for you guys. It's all. I have nothing. Nothing. Oh, Peter, that's not true at all. Mary Jane. Because he was, you know, basically like lamenting the stuff that had just happened before. That's good writing. There's a lot of times where you're going to see Peter Parker in front of a window looking. It's great visual storytelling because, you know, you don't have to have words. This page probably could have worked out still well with no words. It just could have been just this, and you still would have understood what was going on in there. So this is a masterwork. This is a master class in actual writing a Spider-Man comic. At this point in time, if you're buying Amazing Spider-Man, you're only probably buying it because, I don't know. I mean, I only started buying it because people started saying it was good, but then when I got it, I was like, this is not good. This is not Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man. And too bad it was only like 6 issues, because I feel like Chip Zdarsky on not Spectacular Spider-Man, but just like a regular run of Amazing Spider-Man, he would do great. He would do amazing. But anyway, that was Spider-Man Life Story 2, 70s. If you cannot find the single issues, then go ahead and get that trade paperback. It's out. It's expensive. I would much rather just buy these. But look at that, $4.99. That's asking people to go over a steep cliff, especially in the coronavirus economy. Comic book shops are shut down and everything. So yeah, I guess maybe you would probably be better off just going to Amazon and paying the hefty price tag. But hey, this is one of the best Spider-Man stories you're going to read, and one of the better stories that you're going to find out from 2019. But let's have a dialogue about it. I got all this free time now since we all locked down anyway. So if you like this video, like, share, comment, subscribe. We can talk about this stuff. But thanks for watching. Peace out.